What's up, gang? It's Friday. Man, it's Rumor Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo. It's really hot in Pittsburgh, but I'm with Robert Karpelis, who's probably really hot in Florida, I'd imagine, down there. W Creative _ish. Robert, how you doing?
It's always hot here, but no place I'd rather be than right here, mainly because I'm under a really good fan.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I have no AC. Did you know? Look at that. Wow, that's a movie.
That thing is cooking right now, so that I'm not, because it's somewhere in the 90s, and that's with it being like cloudy and overcast. Looks like it's about to rain, but that's not what we're here to talk about, Dom.
No. Who wants to hear about the weather? We want to talk some SmackDown and just some other elements. Bailey had some interesting comments too this week that we want to touch upon. But wow, they did not. Well, let's say hi to some folks in the chat here real quick. Willie Fortin's Thorn Brew.
Man, you're pulling out your best Biden early on in this.
I am, right? Isn't it nice that John Cena to come out of retirement to retire? How about that? Alt Jake says, "Happy Friday, everyone." So is this the new thing going to be Ethan Page in the CW? We talked to Ethan Page yesterday.
We will get, Ethan Page will be on the CW soon enough, since he is the NXT champion. He's the face of NXT. And this fall, as we know, NXT is going to be on the CW along such hit shows as Homeboys in Outer Space and Girlfriends and Shasta McNasty.
Shasta McNasty, good golly, I can't wait for that. But I can't wait for SmackDown, even though there's not a whole lot to preview. They gave us very little.
There's a lot to preview, Dom.
Well, from a match standpoint, there's not a whole lot to preview. Let me just say that there's plenty to cover when it comes to all the outside elements. But right now, as it stands, we have Mishin taking on Nia Jax, Baron Corbin, and Apollo Crews versus Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. So
let me try that. Let me try that one again.
Do it for me.
Before we get some letters from Legato. It's Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo.
That's it. Who just resigned, by the way, Angel Garza. So,
Angel Garza did just resign.
Mm-hmm. I like him too. Big fan of the LWO and his dad, Hector. So carrying on that legacy.
I do enjoy that. So the two matches they've announced, they're not setting the world on fire per se. The Mishin Nia Jax match is obviously to further Nia Jax as the number one contender going up against Bayley at SummerSlam. Mishin is someone who is obviously very talented, but is very beatable. And that's okay. There's people serve various roles on the shows. Not everybody is necessarily always going to be world champion and at the top. And I think that they trust Mishin, Mia Yim, to get a good match out of Nia Jax. And that's kind of what you need. The Apollo Crews Baron Corbin match against Legato is something for Escobar's group to do. It's trying to get behind Apollo Crews a little bit. And for whatever reason, using Baron Corbin, despite my years of protests and letters.
You wrote letters, Robert?
Oh, many letters. Handwritten. Really took the time. Calligraphy.
Ooh.
I have terrible penmanship.
I don't believe that.
I trust me. I have written notes to my daughter's school that they thought were like from my son. So it happens.
Can you write me a letter? I want to get a letter from you, Robert.
Despite the fact that you look currently like you're incarcerated, and that's why the only communication you could get is a letter. No, that's not going to happen. But what we know is going to happen on SmackDown is the big stories moving into SummerSlam. We touched on the Nia Jax piece because Bayley is the number one contender. We saw new tag champions last Friday with DIY winning. So now you've got the falling action of what's going to happen with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Are they going to ask for a rematch? Are they going to split apart? Has this all been a swerve, bro, and they're really stronger than ever? That's going to be kind of fun to see. They've been teasing a little bit of like pulling Austin Theory back into the way, while at the same time, Johnny's wife, Candice LeRae, has turned into an internet troll come to life.
What a fascinating trajectory all those people took from the way. You think about Dexter Loomis, where he went. Indy Hartwell is kind of on her own thing now, and Candice LeRae, and now Johnny Gargano back in the
and this as a duo a little bit. But the tag division, you've got DIY now as the tag champ, so you could pivot to a rematch. I know they were teasing Motor City Machine Guns possibly joining, which I think would be an interesting addition. You've got Legado del Fantasma, obviously, to strengthen them, as well as the Street Profits having literally nothing to do with Lashley being on the shelf.
Yeah, and I've read about that stuff, obviously, with the Motor City Machine Guns, and I think that would be that's getting them incorporated into your product is further validating a concerted effort to make sure that you're building your tag division and making it mean something. So I'm all for seeing those guys in the mix of it all. Obviously, I was big fans of them the TNA days and stuff, and so it'd be pretty neat to have them finally in the WWE fold after how many years of not being there.
Absolutely. I think that they're really great talents. They're versatile, and I think that's what's important for your SmackDown locker room, to have those guys being able to put the Guns in there with the Street Profits, putting them in there with the Bloodline.
Yeah.
You've got Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa who are floating around out there. It's very possible DIY won those tag titles just to be fed to the former Guerrillas of Destiny.
Yeah, that's a great point. Do you think they need it, though? The Guerrillas of Destiny. Do you think they need those tag titles, though?
Yes.
Necessarily.
I do, because the strength of the Bloodline that we've been conditioned was that they have the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So I think them taking the tag title, you remember there was that great image where you had every member of the Bloodline had gold at one point.
Yeah.
And it made them feel extremely important. And I think that that's something that with Solo Sikoa, you need as much reinforcement as you can that this Bloodline is the top heel stable in the company. Them winning in the main event of Money in the Bank, not only them winning, but him pinning the world champion or the Universal Champion is a way to further him challenging at SummerSlam. And there's a lot of people just don't necessarily buy Solo as a main event talent. And that's by design.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too.
You're not supposed to think that he is Roman. You're supposed to be clamoring for Roman Reigns and say, like, it's like Anchorman, like, you're not Ron. You're not Roman, but Solo has been very well protected and very well booked. If you remember, he destroyed John Cena in their one-on-one match a couple months ago, or several months ago at this point. So that's top of mind. And the machinations of this version of the Bloodline is intentionally different. They feel more dangerous and unpredictable. So now you're going into a SmackDown after Team Cody and Orton and Owens failed. And they failed in a straight up 6-man tag. Yes, it was technically 4-on-3, but they're going to be outnumbered. You're now positioning Cody as someone who's going to have to defend this title against Solo. And I think it's going to work as a SummerSlam match because it's a strong enough card overall. And we've seen, going all the way back to the Hogan era, you heat up a monster heel and feed him to the babyface. I don't think that's necessarily what we're going to get, but I think that what you will see coming off of SummerSlam is a pivoting of the Bloodline from Cody to the OG Bloodline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a pretty safe indication. I mean, not a safe indication, but there's a good possibility we see something happen in regards to what goes on with the Bloodline, whether Roman shows up or even The Rock shows up or something. You don't think anything like that's going to happen at SummerSlam here?
I think you still have a couple cards to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the X factor here is if you have Owens and Orton backing Cody, taking care of the Guerrillas of Destiny, taking care of Jacob Fatu, that leaves the door open for Jimmy Uso to return.
Oh, that's
his redemption, him coming out there, because he's certainly not aligned with Cody, but maybe he doesn't want to see Solo win and get the title. And that's a way for him to trickle back in. And now it's like, well, are you going to pull Jey Uso into this orbit? Since Jey Uso doesn't really have a ton of stuff going on. He's just he's got the yeet stuff. Crowd loves it, but he's not in an immediate feud right now. So Jimmy returning, the lore of Roman possibly returning sets up a hell of a Survivor Series.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, it really does. No, Jimmy's an interesting factor to include into all that. And it would be interesting to see him get back into it all. But then, yeah, how do you get Jey Uso over in that mix when he's on Raw and the Bloodline's strictly a SmackDown entity? Unless they get
the easiest way is again, Survivor Series or SummerSlam is a co-branded show. So if you find a way to get Jey Uso on the card in some form or fashion, he's going to be backstage. It would make sense that he would interfere and interject himself into the matters. So it's most likely why the SmackDown preview this week is as light as it is, because they know that they have these stories going into SummerSlam. We know we have to get to Cody versus Solo. You don't need to announce much of it. You know there's going to be a promo. There's going to be something. You know that you're going to get LA Knight and Logan Paul. So it's a matter of, okay, how are we getting there? We know we have new tag champions. It's either a rematch with the crumbling former champions or a new team steps up. And then you've got a match furthering your women's title and this bizarro tag match, which may, if they're lucky, you get Apollo Crews over again.
That's a good point because, he's been an understated role for how long? Ever since being called up. So it's like, you if you're able to do that, I would say that's pretty savvy move on their part then to do that. Do you expect, with it being the Fallout Money in the Bank after SmackDown, after all that stuff, do you expect there to be any certain surprises or anything going on that will really catch people, like with this being such an understated card for this evening? Or is there?
I don't think you need to.
WWE, would you kind of continue part of the course? Build.
You know what? It's people want to see what they're going to do next. Bloodline wins in the main event. Cody gets pinned by Solo. What's going to happen next? Tiffany Stratton wins the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. It is the only briefcase that is active. What's going to happen next? We still have title matches to firm up getting into SummerSlam, and we kind of know probably 7 matches, which is probably all there's going to be, that could theoretically take place on this show.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have all this groundwork laid out, I love it.
Yeah. It's kind of been what they've been like, what WWE has been doing for months, I would say, is giving you consistent good television. And so I think it's pretty safe to put that their goodwill is going to probably pay off tonight, even with such a very unannounced card overall. So I think it should be a good one, Robert.
I think it'll be a fun show. Look, good, bad, or indifferent, we'll be talking about it here on Monday. But between now and then, Dom, it's the weekend. Yes. And that means a little bit of free time, a little bit of time to spend with your friends and family and your loved ones. And one loved one in particular who's definitely going to appreciate this because, guys, this episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Yes. If you want to be as hard as the summer day is long, then get yourself a Blue Chew and bring the summer heat. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night, before SmackDown, during SmackDown, after SmackDown, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. SmackDown's only 2 hours, guys. By 10 o'clock on a Friday night, you may want to be ready to go, and Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com, and we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR. to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo. Fun anecdote. I was on a work conference call the other day, and a moment opened up where I was like, this is the Blue Chew segue, and then realized, nope, this is real life. I'm not reading it, but it almost happened. It was almost really like, speaking of
this. Boy, man.
More importantly, glad that Ron Ward was able to join us live. And he wrote, I showed up late and pop in right during the Blue Chew ad. Ron, it can happen at any time. And we're glad that you were here. We're glad you could come for it. BlueChew.com promo code. Rumor. Dom, we got other stuff to talk about beyond tonight's SmackDown. Our new fave, Ronda Rousey.
Right, Ronda Rousey. Back at, you say her name and she appears like Joe Henry almost. It's
I hope not. So fun aside.
Okay.
On Working Stiff, back when it used to be called Wrestle Roast, we would do weekly roasts of wrestlers. We did a roast of Ronda Rousey.
Oh my.
And out of an overabundance of caution, I messaged Shayna Baszler, who I've known for a while, and I'm like, Shayna, think the world of Ronda, think she's great. We may have made one or two jokes that will lead to body parts being removed from our body. Please have my back. She went, she listened. She's like, it was really funny. And if Ronda hears this, she will kill you. So I tread very lightly. I will say a number of talent over the years have heard our roasts of them.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, that damn dastardly, awful piece of human trash, Jeff Jarrett.
Goodness.
They've all been big fans. They've all liked what we've had to put out there. So a number of wrestlers do have a decent sense of humor. I'm sure Ronda does. She knows this is all in good fun. Please don't kill me. What did Ronda have to say?
Yes, Ronda had to say to CBS Sports, I think anyone's better than Vince McMahon. The only place you can go is up. I really enjoyed Triple H and working with him. And honestly, I haven't been watching, but I saw something from Natty saying that they had a card recently that had just as many women on it as the men. That's what I really like to see. The women equally represented with not just matches on the card, but time on the show. I feel there's no place that they could go but up. And I'm really, really happy for all the women still there and thriving under the new regime. I think that was a big part of her reasoning to be a wrestler too, was kind of to help elevate the women's division. And I think inarguably she was a major factor of that all taking place, the growth of the women's division. But yeah, I mean, seems like she's still kind of keeping some goodwill between Triple H and all that stuff, but probably not really much plans to head back to WWE, I would say.
So I think a couple of things are at play here. Number one, she has made it clear that her issue was with Vince and with the people that worked with and supported Vince. She has not kind of delved too deeply into what her dynamic with Vince was, but it sounds like it was not a great relationship. It makes sense that she would like Hunter and Stephanie. If you remember when she first debuted at that Mania, it was facing off with Stephanie, and Hunter and Stephanie are going to respect and appreciate her MMA UFC background more. And she tried to go the other direction. She tried to go scorched earth on WWE. She tried to bury wrestling. And I think she saw the tea leaves. I don't know what her book sales ultimately were from trying to needle the company. I don't think they were off the charts. So I think now she kind of realizes, like a lot of folks do, Bill Goldberg, that you can't just bury the wrestling world, Bill Goldberg, unless you plan on returning tail between your legs, Bill Goldberg, and make money off of marks, Bill Goldberg. So I think what Ronda has seen is, well, UFC and WWE are under the same umbrella, TKO. I have a payday down the road of a Hall of Fame induction. I better keep things at least civil and say, look, the problem that I had is with Vince, but Paul, all those bracelets on your wrist, I love them. They're very manly. You're the best.
Well, I have to say, I really, when Ronda was there, I really liked her a lot. I thought she added a whole nother legitimacy element to it all. And she kind of took to it pretty naturally, it seemed. Obviously, she had a lot of help with who she was in the ring with, from Kurt Angle to Triple H and to even Stephanie. But it's impressive, and I think she really did elevate the women's division.
So you have to divide it. The first go round, Ronda's first run, yes,
that's what
her return was a lot lesser than. It became counterproductive, and she was not able to keep up with the caliber of women that they have right now, which speaks volumes about the women's division in WWE.
Right. And we are speaking volumes about them. And Bailey actually just did on the new Cody Rhodes podcast, which I didn't even know existed. It's What Do You Want to Talk About is the name of the show.
Is that a real thing? He has a podcast called What Do You Want to Talk About?
Exactly. Yeah, he does. But let's get him on the show. Get him on the show, Robert. Show him how to get some numbers, huh? Bailey.
I got no problem with that. I like Cody. I liked his dad. Liked his brother.
I like the whole family. Mama Rhodes. I like everything.
I don't know about that Mama Rhodes. She seems a little feisty. A lot of Marcus D'Angelo level profanity when she's on television.
My goodness, yes. I think her and Marcus go to the same school of hard knocks.
Brief aside, I saw Marcus landed a new gig in the wrestling world.
That's correct. He's going to be announcing for the International Wrestling Cartel. He will be a backstage announcer this weekend. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, be sure to check out IWC Wipeout, and he will be there on beat, making some interviews and stuff like that. So pretty happy for him. Hopefully he does.
That was not a planned plug, by the way. That was, I randomly saw it on his Facebook page, and I was like, oh,
yep. He's the voice of a generation. Let's say that.
Hopefully not mine. So what did Bailey?
He's a
voice of the true voice of our generation. Bailey, what did she have to say?
Yes. So she was asked about the women's division and all that stuff, and she says, "I think it would be cool to give everybody on Raw and SmackDown a part of that show, Evolution 2. You can bring girls in from NXT. You can bring girls in from, we just saw Jordan Grace in NXT. Gordon Grace. So TNA girls, whatever the connection is there, we can bring different girls in. You can bring someone in from the past. They're up for it to do a little something. But we have such a stacked roster right now where it's like, hey, we can hold a show down on our own, another PLE on our own. And it's been so many years where it's not like it's something we have to do every year. We're kind of like, all right, we've been seeing it enough times, but I think it's time that it's a different era compared to back then. I initially going into this, I was like, is there value in having an all women's show? And really, there definitely is. And it would be, and she made the points exactly. I mean, like, you look at all the influx of talent that you can potentially get on the show, whether it's legends, whether it's people from NXT or TNA, and then the already stacked women's roster of talent that you already have. You could make this feel like a big deal. And even to her point, it not even being like an annual thing, just once in a great while, would really elevate the stakes of it all too, I think.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think on the one hand, look, the Women's Evolution pay-per-view happened when it did as a response to the fact that the Saudi government would not allow women to compete on the shows there. Eventually that caved, and now women are able to compete freely on the Saudi shows as long as they're covered from head to toe in a body stocking. The irony being, them in the body stocking is far more revealing than some of their normal gear.
Yeah.
They look like when George Costanza was bodysuit man and went fake streaking across Yankee Stadium.
Or Kramer in the Calvin Klein ad.
No, at least there he was wearing underwear. Anyway, significant shrinkage. But there's enough female talent and enough compelling stories that exist that you could do a women's only show and not make it just a novelty.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it. If you look at it right now, if you look at the storylines going on in the WWE in the women's division, you could move Ronda versus Liv to headline a PLE. There's an argument it could headline SummerSlam.
Absolutely.
In some regard.
Yeah.
It's a white hot story that you're putting there at the top. Bayley Nia Jax, another strong match. The women's tag team champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, seem to be feuding with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. You could go ahead and plug that in. You've got Io Sky, who's currently feuding with Lyra Valkyria. That's a hell of a one-on-one match right there.
Yes.
You could pull an NXT match, put that in there, and then do, Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi, since they clearly have had an issue of late. It's a stacked, 5-6 match show right off the cuff. That's not factoring in Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill.
Mm-hmm.
That's not factoring in a number of the NXT talent. They have a well. They don't need to necessarily bring in the legends of the past, because all due respect to the way they use the term legends, a lot of those women were not at the same caliber as the current roster is. I don't need to see Michelle McCool there. I get it. It's cool. She's married to Undertaker. She was fine in her time. It's a different show. And I think there's enough active women on the roster. Hell, Charlotte will be back at some point soon.
Yeah.
There's enough active women on the roster. You could run a women's only PLE event and just market it as the next PLE show, and not even make it a like, look at this, guys. It's time for the ladies. Like, no, they stand on their own 2 feet. The matches are good. The stories are good. There's a depth to that roster that is really, really impressive. It's second only to the roster that Dominic D'Angelo has assembled as the greatest producer in the history of wrestling podcasts.
Man, the proof is in the pudding too, Robert. How consistent I am with everything. But thank you. Yes, I have a show that I do.
I try, and then you're just like, I'm the best, even though I botch them all. But it comes from a place of a place of caring.
That's it. But guys, yes, One of a Kind with RVD. We just went live last night at 9 p.m. And what a show we had. We had Katie Forbes on there. We had Joe Holland, who is the guy that has made RVD's singlets from the beginning, airbrushed all his singlets. So we got his perspective on designing all the stuff and coming up with all of them. Some wild stuff.
Sorry. What's funny is the way that you announced Katie Forbes, like that was a big guest. Isn't that his partner?
Yeah. She pops in. So we see her from time to time in the background, but it's been probably almost a year since we actually had her on the show, as a guest and stuff like that. So
she didn't want to make the walk from the one room to the next room.
Sometimes you see her passing and stuff like that. Yeah, but she was on the show, and then we talk about John Cena retiring as well. So and I also do the same with Greg Gagne and Magnum TA. We talk about John Cena and what it's like for a veteran like that to retire. And and Magnum showed up a little late, so it was a off the beaten path show yet again. No Andre the Giant talk. We're gonna get to him. We'll get to him, but you can check that out.
Was it Greg saying that him and Cena could have a hell of a match?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. The High Flyer versus the Chain Gang. So there you go.
It's so cute that you call him the High Flyer. You're so in the back. It's nice. It's you must get volunteer hours for this. It's so sweet. Back in my day, I was a high flyer. I would come off the second rope with a double axe handle, and man, the St. Paul crowd, they would just they would politely lose their mind.
Minnesota nice. They were Minnesota nice.
Oh yeah, some of them even clapped a little more enthusiastically.
That's right. But guys, you can get that stuff early right now on OneTrueSportTV.com, or wait till Monday and wait till next Wednesday. We're changing the time for the Gagne and Magnum show, so be on the lookout for those. Robert, wow, you guys had a big working stiff. Whoa, that sounds
okay. That sounds like a Blue Chew ad.
Yes.
No, this week's episode of Working Stiff, which is available now with myself, Dan St. Germain, and Scott Chaplin. Hell of a show with a big announcement at the top that's worth going out of your way to check out. But it is worth going out of your way to join us live every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern for Rumor and Innuendo on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ish X account, the Dominic D'Angelo X account, the SE Scoops X account, the Rumor and Innuendo X account, the Working Stiff X account, and on YouTube on Rumor and Innuendo Working Stiff, and ad-free shows. That's pretty much all I got today. On behalf of the pantomiming Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Take a letter, Maria, address it to my wife. Tell her I won't be coming home. Gonna start a new life.